Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023.
Hello everybody and welcome to Moorlands Sports Extra, the podcast brought to you by the sports team at Moorlands Radio and of course proud to be in association with Leek Building Society. It's been another busy week for our local sporting side, so let's get into this week's podcast. We're going to be hearing from the Kidsgrove athletic manager Scott Dundas when I spoke to him on Saturday following their 3-0 defeat to City of Liverpool. We'll catch up with Josh Brehaut and Ben Chapman following Leek Town versus Hanley Town in midweek. Terry Boote, our friend at Rocket Productions, who films all of Leek Town's games home and away, he spoke to a Leek Town supporter who made the journey from Ireland on Saturday to watch him at Bootle, and he kindly has given us permission to use that, so we'll bring you that interview. And we're going to speak to Andrew Simpson, a freelance journalist based over in mid-Cheshire, to talk about Leek Town's latest signing, Fenton Green. So we're going to start this week's podcast at the AutoNet Insurance Stadium, where on Saturday, Kidsgrove were hosting City of Liverpool. I was covering the game for Moorlands Radio, and after the game, which finished in a 3-0 defeat for the Grove, I caught up with Grove manager Scott Dundas to get his thoughts on the game. Scott Dundas, thanks for joining us on Moorlands Radio. Not the best of afternoons for you, losing 3-0 to City of Liverpool. Just give us your assessment.
I just thought they were in a bit of a rut at the minute, just can't get out of it. We're trying a few different things here and there, and they're just not coming off. We did say to him at the start of the season, you can go on a run and of winning, and you can also go on a run of losing. So, you know, that's the case at the minute, and just as we got onto a losing run, we just need to try and get onto a more positive run. And
how do you change that with the players then to pull them out of this rut?
They just have to try and work hard, is what they have doing. They have to get on the training field, they have to do stuff themselves, they have to try and buy back into what we wanted them to do at the start of the season. You know, we've had a lot of personnel changes which hasn't helped with, you know, but lots of teams have, but it just seems like we have had a few more than normal, which hasn't helped us at all. But you know, we've got to get on with it and try and get out of it.
Started the clock back a couple of hours just as a couple of fireworks goes off there. A couple of days ago, this game would no doubt have been in doubt with the weather facilities. How impressive is the ground staff have got this game on, and obviously the display last night for the fireworks?
Yeah, we just said that in there to him. You know, the people in and around the club just absolutely work the socks off and try and get us games on and try and give us the best that they can do. And you know, I think they're laying a few people down in there at the minute with a few of the performances that they're having. So, you know, we've addressed that as well. So hopefully we can turn it round next week.
Just talk us through today's game and the goals that were conceded.
Obviously the first one, can't think really. The second two, obviously just come out after half time and got easily beat down the right hand side, and the lads had a free shot at the back stick with no challenge there. And then the third goal, just calamity of errors, I think. Jack played it back and just went straight through Kieran and obviously trickled over the line, so you know that's disappointing. But you know, they could have scored 3 or 4, to be honest with you. Well, they did score 3, but they could have scored 3 or 4 more. But yeah, we just went at the races.
Signed Anthony Melbourne last week, gave him the start today. How's he done since returning to the club?
Yeah, he's done well. You know, he's got to get fitter, got to get sharper. He knows that. You know, he's happy to be back. He's in good headspace and thought he did okay today on the scraps that he had to feed off. But he'll get better as the season goes on.
And what's it like having him in the dressing room? Because not only does he give up the playing side, but how he leads by telling other players where to go and how to do it.
Yeah, that's it. You know, he's been there, done it, especially at this level. So hopefully he can drag us through over the next couple of weeks.
Harvey Washington as well, his first start today. How did he do? I know you brought him off after about an hour or so.
Yeah, he did well. Obviously had a rash challenge for the booking, and that's why we just took him off. Didn't want him have a red card because got some tricky wingers, and there was always that aspect with the weather and the pitch. So yeah, we just took him off, but thought he did okay.
And finally, just as the Pirates continue to go off, win this away next Saturday. How do you pick the lads up in training on Tuesday and Thursday?
Yeah, they've got to work hard, mate. They've got to work hard in training this week, and we'll try and have a game plan for Saturday, and hopefully we can get it changed around.
Scott, as always, thank you for your time.
No worries, mate.
So that's Kidsgrove Athletic manager Scott Dundas following their 3-0 defeat to City of Liverpool on Saturday. And while that game was taking place at Kidsgrove, Tony and Dave made the journey to Merseyside as Leek Town took on Bootle. Terry Boote also made the journey, and he caught up with Leek Town supporter John Gallagher. And John Gallagher is a Leek Town fan who travels to watch the Blues all the way from Cork in Ireland. And Terry has very kindly allowed us to use this interview on the podcast.
Leek Town fans, I've got probably one of our best supporters here, because every day for you, John, is an away day, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
So why don't you introduce yourself to the camera, tell who's you are.
Okay, so my name is John Gallagher. I've been Leek Town supporter since 1993. Caught the boat when I worked over in Leek. I started working with Kerrygold in 93, and I started going down to Harrison Park as it was then, and I caught the boat. And I was in town for 4 or 5 years, never missed a home game. Went to a lot of the away games, saw us in the conference, saw the good times, saw the bad times, and the lure of home took me back home to Ireland around 2000, but ever since I've been trying to get back over whenever I can to see a game with Leek in it, and I'm still at it.
So my journey here today consisted of the A53, A500, M6, M62, and then whatever road through Netherton, let's say.
Yeah.
So what's it like for you today? What time did you leave home?
Okay, so I set the alarm for 3:15 a.m. this morning. Actually, I knew I was getting up early, so I was awake from about 2:45 on, so I wouldn't miss it. Left the house at about 3:30, got to the Cork airport at 4:30. So that was a car trip, then I got a bus to the airport, then I got a plane, then I got a plane to Manchester, then I hired a car and I drove up to Liverpool, and I arrived. I went for a look around first for a while, and then I arrived in Bootle there around 2:30 for the game, so match nerves were kicking in from 2 o'clock onwards. So I'm nearly up a day already.
You've been up 24 hours?
Nearly have, yeah.
Are you flagging yet? Unlike our team at the moment.
Not yet, but that first half performance didn't do me any favours.
No, it didn't, did it? No. So, if I can ask you a personal question, would you like to tell me how much it's cost you today to get here and get home?
So what I try and do is I look at the fixture list in advance, and I look at the Ryanair website, and I'm starting to plot my fixtures, and I check the flight over and the flight back, and usually I get the flight for about £60 or £70. Okay? Yeah. So amazingly, my hired car is dearer always than the flight. Can you believe that? So the hired car would be about 80 quid, and then the expenses, tenner in and a bit of food and that, so I'd probably come out of the day, I'd get the day for 160 or 170 quid.
You know you could go watch a Premier League game for that, couldn't you?
You could, yeah. And I'm a West Brom supporter for my troubles as well, so I'm trying to split my loyalties between the two.
So do you go to the Baggies then?
I go to the Baggies, yeah. I go to the Baggies regularly enough, so I try to split my trips between Leek and the Baggies.
So we're about 9-10 games in, so who have you watched more of this year? Is it Leek once and Albion once?
This is my third time seeing Leek. I was at the home game against Widnes.
Oh, and you were at Bedford, really?
Yeah, because you caught me
That's
there.
it, you did that.
And this is my third, and I've seen the Baggies twice.
Yeah. So when's your next trip over to here then, to watch Leek?
I'm hoping to see Leek around Christmas time. I've nothing booked yet, but I'm watching the flights, but Michael O'Leary and Ryanair doesn't do me any favours around Christmas time, the price of the flights, but I'm hoping to get back around Christmas.
Just a quick one. Mr. Chairman, I hope you're watching this, John, because we need to give this guy some sort of a ticket free. And I'm sure he will.
I am.
If not, I'll bloody pay for it myself.
I am the single member of the Irish branch of Leek Town Football Club, and
so
I'm proud of it. Look,
so you're the founder.
I'm proud of it.
Let's have a look at that.
This is my jersey from the conference, so I have a few Leek jerseys, but this is my favourite one. It's getting on for 30 years old now, but it's my favourite.
Yeah. So, let me ask this question. It's too early to talk about the P word, let's say. But what do you fancy your chances of this season?
I think we need to go up automatically this season because the playoff is no friend of Leek Town. Like, same as yourself, Terry, I've lost count of the time that we've lost in playoff semi-finals and playoff finals, and we've been to Ilkeston and we've been to all the places, and we have got to go up automatically this season because we can't take any more playoff heartache.
Do you think we'll win the league? Not on today's performance.
On today's performance, no, but I'm assuming today's performance is a bit of a blip because the last 2 times I saw us playing, I was impressed. I'm hoping we will. I know people are in other clubs are saying we're the favourites and that, but I'm hoping we will.
Well, you see, John, every team has a blip, and if you remember, we had ours last January, so I'm hoping ours is now, and then we pick up, say, mid-November.
Yeah, and I know, and we've Gricey to come back as well, so we're going to have a pretty strong forward line. You would think there's going to be goals in the team, you know, from the December onwards with Gricey, Aaron and Steve up front and Tom Castle. Yeah. There should be a lot of goals in this team after Christmas.
Well, you can't take, promotion for granted, but I'm hoping this year that we do, because we've been the bridesmaids for so many years.
Absolutely.
So many years.
Yeah, we're going to have to do it at some stage, and we need to do it this season.
So, let's talk about your journey home. So you got to catch is it from Manchester Airport?
Yeah, so I'll have to run over to my car there and park in the industrial estate, and I'll tear back to Manchester Airport, throw the car into Ava's car park, get onto a bus, that takes me back to Terminal 3, get onto a plane, that'll take me to Cork, get into my car and drive home.
So what's that when you get in?
I might be home for about 11:30 tonight, I'd say. Yeah, so I'll miss match of the day as well.
Yeah, well, forget match of the day. Just watch this on Sunday.
I know.
John?
And I'll be looking out for your highlights.
It's a pleasure meeting you again, mate.
Thanks very much, sir. Cheers. Appreciate that.
You are a true blue. There is no question about that. True blue.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, mate. You take care.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Bye.
So that's Terry Boote in conversation with John Gallagher, and a massive thanks to Terry Boote for supplying the interview. If you want to watch any of Terry Boote's footage from games, I would highly recommend them go over to Leek Town FC on YouTube or search Rocket Productions, and you'll be able to watch the games. Normally he films our interviews with Josh and the players after the game, and of course he's an all-round good guy, Terry, and of course we had him on the podcast couple of weeks ago. Now we're going to go from Saturday's disappointment of losing to Bootle to Tuesday night's high of beating Hanley Town in a local derby. Leek Town hosted, as I say, Hanley Town on the Tuesday night, and after going 1-0 down on 17 minutes thanks to a goal from Tyrone Afori, Leek Town turns it round to win 2-1. Dan Trickett-Smith equalised on 41 minutes for the Blues with a well-taken free kick before Hanley had Saul Shotton sent off just before half-time for 2 yellow cards. The game was finally poised on a knife edge going into the last 15 minutes of the game when Hanley Town goalkeeper Adam Whitehouse picked up an injury, meaning that debutant goalkeeper Lennon Grimley had to come in between the sticks for Hanley. He was unfortunate to concede shortly afterwards when Ollie Harrison scored his second goal of the season for the Blues. After the match, we caught up with both managers, and you'll be able to hear their interviews now. We're going to start with Ben Chapman, who's player assistant manager at Hanley Town.
Right, I'm here with Ben Chapman, the assistant manager, player assistant manager still, sort of. You've played a couple of games, haven't you, this season? Yeah, and I do think that you should have got something from the game. You worked really hard in the first 20 minutes. I thought you were the better side.
Yeah, I don't think there's a spectator in the ground tonight who disagree with that. First 20 minutes, we caused some problems, and it's just really frustrating the way it's ended, I think. But yeah, I think first 20-25 minutes we did really well. Lost a little bit of shape, couple of challenges went in and rattled us a little bit, and then obviously this ending off completely changes the game.
Yeah, I thought Leek got on top of you the closing 15 minutes or so of the first half. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think we allowed them to. We didn't do what we kept doing for the first 15, 20, 25 minutes, which is going to happen in games. The other team are going to get a spell at some point, and I think that's when Leek started getting on top of the game, when they had their spell and we didn't kind of deal with it. And then the challenges went in, a couple of silly bookings, lads are getting frustrated, and then we end up with a red card.
Yeah, I think discipline-wise, this will look awful for you, won't it? Because you got a yellow and red, and you also got was it another 8 yellows, including one for you?
Yeah. You can't say too much, can you? But
No.
I honestly don't. I think in all the time I've been playing non-league and been around non-league, I think that's probably the worst ever performance I've seen from a ref. I think he was just giving his yellows for every tackle towards the end of the game. And you know, I just spoke to him after and I said, I can't see it at the time in the game where one of our lads has committed 1 or 2, and then he's gone over and said, listen, that's 2 now, the next one you're in the book. And he said, yeah, I did it with the 8 and the 11. But then all the other lads, some of them were 1 challenges in the game and they've been booked. So listen, we'll take that. We certainly won't be disheartened about all them bookings because we know what we just had to come up against. So yeah, we're not going to get after the lads for that. It is what it is.
Your keeper had to go off, you had to change keepers. What happened to Whitehouse?
So the ball came in and their 9 top bill lads just wiped him out. Adams had it in his hands, just clattered him. Adams dropped it for what should have been a free kick, except he's given a corner. And I think he's just struggled with his back there since, so he's just having some treatment now, so should be alright. But yeah, Lennon came in and did well. Young lad, bags of potential. I really rate him. He came in, dropped the first one, you know, the first cross, he dropped it, but then he was lively onto the rebound and made a big save off that rebound. So yeah, we know what Lennon's got. He does it every week in training, and you know, when a young lad comes on the pitch, you're always a little bit nervous, but really happy with what he contributed.
So you won't have to contribute on Saturday then, you don't think?
No.
What's it like being assistant manager then? You're enjoying it?
Yeah, I think last time we were here, me and Ryan just started.
Yeah, you had.
Started out. This was the first unofficial game. You know, got announced after the game. But yeah, really enjoying it. It's working well. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, a lot of conversations, a lot of calls, a lot of, you know, looking at who we're playing against, and we've got a good group around us. You know, the backroom staff are making it really easier for us. So yeah, it's fun. We enjoy it and we just keep going.
One last question. Sum up your season so far for us, Ben.
I'm really pleased with how it's gone so far. We had a shaky start, lost a few on the bounce, and kind of moved things around and changed the way we played. But what we've got in that changing room is a good group of lads, first and foremost, a good group of lads who are together. And you know, like you saw tonight, we play football when we can, and hopefully that'll help us kick on. And listen, we know where we are. This is the second season we've been at this level. We're not going to be pushing up there with the playoff contenders and teams like that. You know, Leek Town have been established at this level for too long. You know, they should have been out of this league by now, and we've just gone toe to toe with them. Any other night where it's 11v11, I would have been really interested seeing how that finished. But we're happy with what we've got. Great group of lads, and we'll just see what happens.
This is the Moorlands Sport Extra podcast in association with Leek Building Society, rated the UK's best building society 2023, serving the community and its members for 160 years.
So that's Ben Chapman speaking to Moorlands Radio Sport. Proud to be in association, of course, with Leek Building Society for, as always, after the game. And straight after speaking to Ben, Josh Brehaut, the Leek Town manager, came up to the press box and gave us his thoughts on the game.
Josh now, he's had his little conversation with Hanley Town. A hard fought win, really.
Yeah.
Very hard fought.
Yeah. You have to find a way to win games of football. We started really poorly, which was disappointing. They were first to you know, a lot of the contacts and picking up bits, and you could see, you know, they were right up for it, really aggressive, which it's not that we didn't expect that. It just took some time to settle, and then once we shortened our passing game up, our quality told, and we had a real spell where the first goal came, you could feel it was coming. Half time came obviously at a bad time for us. You know, when we had the momentum in the game, obviously the red card, and the second half was going to be difficult. I mean, I said to the lads before the game, Hanley have only conceded 1 goal in their last 5 away league games. That's some record. So we knew that they are a really, really, really tough opponent. To then go 1-0 up and us come out with the 3 points, I'm absolutely delighted with. They showed amazing character. I'm really, really proud of them. And you know, if you're going to be successful and try and be at the top end, and which a lot of the lads know, they've been through it, but you have to come out the right side in games like tonight.
I thought you showed discipline in 2 ways. One, you didn't come out all gung-ho in the second half. You were patient. You waited for the opportunities to come, and then you took your goal when you had the real chance to take it.
Yeah, playing against 10 men is really difficult. You know, we had the game against Staley Bridge, and I remember speaking to you after that game and saying how elated I was winning in the manner that we did, because it's not easy. It's not easy, and certainly at this level, it only takes one moment, one interception, one poor decision when you force something, and you can be counter-attacked, because the attacking talent in the league is very, very high, and that's why so many teams can beat, you know, each other. And we had to retain our discipline, and we did do that. I'm really, really pleased with how we retained our discipline. It would have been very easy to get caught up in a lot of the other stuff that was going on in the game, and we didn't. We focused on what we needed to focus on, and we managed to create the moment that won us the game.
I was going to say that was my second discipline, that you were disciplined, because you could have retaliated in the wrong way, couldn't you?
Yeah, and I think that would only have suited them. There would have been no benefit whatsoever for us had we sort of gone down that path. We got the second goal, really pleased with that, really pleased with the nature and how we managed that period. And I suppose just that last 10 minutes, I feel like we could have managed a little bit better. We didn't have any really scary moments where we felt like we were going to concede, but I think we could have still been a little bit more courageous to stay with the ball, keep the ball, draw them on, because obviously we had the extra man. But that's another learning curve for us, and we've got through another really difficult game.
So 2 talking points. Kieran, Ollie Harrison ended up with an injury. How did that happen?
It was just a clash of heads, I think.
Was it?
Yeah, just a clash of heads in the first half. Didn't really see it, but there was nothing more to it than that, really.
Right.
Obviously, it was just a case of them trying to stem the blood flow, which obviously was why he ended up with the ridiculous bandage around his head.
It's a silly white one at first. He looked a lot better in the blue one, I have to say. And the second one is, of course, you brought a new player in, Fenton Green.
Yeah.
Now, when we were coming up after the 1874 game, you said, you quite liked some of the midfielders. Was he one that came out to you?
Yeah, and it wasn't a surprise to me, because I'd seen Fenton play in the build-up to us playing them, in the work that we do behind the scenes. I really like the way he takes the ball. He showed that in a couple of moments tonight. He's got fantastic athleticism, and he can score a goal. So, in addition to being able to be very versatile, in that he can fill in other positions as well, where we don't have a great deal of cover right now. So I'm really, really chuffed that we've got him over the line. He's going to be an amazing acquisition for us, and I'm really sure that in this environment he's going to really prosper. I think I'm really grateful to 1874 for the way that they've been. But I think the biggest compliment that we can pay ourselves is that the managers there, Wayne in particular I was speaking to, said that as soon as we made them aware of the interest, he told Fenton that this was the right place for him to develop. So that's testament to what goes on at Leek Town historically in terms of how they develop players, and I'm sure we'll continue to help him push on and hopefully progress.
And just one last question, really looking forward to Avro. They've been another tough game. They don't concede many goals, do they?
Yeah, we've got an incredibly tough run, obviously, that we're which we're slap bang in the middle of, and so I think we talked about 7 games in 21 days. We got 7 points on the board from 4 games, which is not a bad return. The fact that we'd won 4 on the spin before that, really helped, or has really helped. And we know we're going to continue to pick up points, but we know we will drop points as well. It's a very interesting league, Avro are obviously physically a very strong team. They kept the nucleus of the squad together. They got promotion last season, so they know, they're going to be very organised. They know what they're about. We're going to have to be very disciplined again and stand up to the physical test that we'll face. And it's a game obviously for us to look forward to.
That's the thoughts of Josh Brehaut, the manager of Leek Town FC. And as he mentions in the interview, Leek has signed a new player, Fenton Green, from 1874 Northwich. Our thought for the podcast, let's get a bit of a lowdown on Fenton. So I caught up with Andrew Simpson, who covers 1874 Northwich as amongst many teams in the Mid-Cheshire area for a variety of publications, including the non-league paper, and here's what he had to say about Fenton Green. So, Andy Simpson, thanks for your time. First of all, if you could just give us a bit of a brief rundown on Leek Town's newest signing, Fenton Green, because obviously it was at 1874 Northwich, which is massively one of the teams you cover on your local area.
Yes, indeed. So Fenton Green signed for 1874 Northwich last summer. He was on trial initially during pre-season and arguably was their best player during pre-season, so they were very keen to sign him. A string of impressive performances in several different midfield roles, and that's a theme that's continued in his spell at the club. He was a regular starter last season, missed very few games, but played in several roles in their midfield. So they would often set up 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, and he's played in most of the positions in those formations. So he's maybe not quite yet figured out what his best role is. So it'll be really interesting to see how Leek deploy him. And this season, he's played in a little bit more of an advanced role on occasions, and he's actually 1874 Northwich's leading scorer as he certainly in the league as he leaves now, or has left now this week to join Leek. They're very disappointed to lose him because of his consistent performances, and again has been one of their better players this season, and admittedly kind of up and down opening to the campaign for them. But yeah, certainly someone who Leek will benefit from him racking up close to 50 games for them. He's played a lot of semi-pro football now, and he's a different player to the one that kind of came on trial last year. So kind of ready-made now, I think, now to slot into a team that's kind of going places, if you like.
What do you think will be his main attributes that he'll bring to Leek Town? Obviously, you mentioned consistency, and he's a top scorer.
Yeah, so he does have an eye for goal, and he's calm in front of goal. The goals he's got, I think he's got half a dozen for 74, have all kind of been, very calm, assured finishes. So if he gets in an advanced position, he will deliver. Kind of almost a cliche of someone you would expect who spent 2 years in Crewe Alexandra's academy, someone who's very calm in possession, uses the ball well. But he's an athlete as well. So I always say to people, he can play in both directions. So he has sat in front of the back four and can do that role quite nicely. But if in Leek's formation, he has one of those kind of wide of the midfield three, I think that would suit him really, really well, because he likes to go up and down the field and then make those late runs into the penalty area, rather than be someone who sits in front of the back four and dictates play, although he can do that. So I think he will be used in one of those kind of outside positions in the midfield three, and he's perfectly suited to that. Good stamina and reliable as well. He's had one injury, I think, but kind of he's there. He's there and available each week. So he's kind of improved how robust he is from being exposed to regular men's football. And I think that's important for people who come in when they're like 19, 20, 21, like, or he's 20 at the moment. So Leek will benefit from that as well. He's toughened up a little bit, if that's a better way of putting it.
Yeah, so he's got a bright future ahead of him then, being such a young age.
I think so, yeah. And maybe, Northwich might not thank me for saying this, but maybe ready for his next move to go to a team that has aspirations to be promoted to step three. Obviously, there is a connection. He'll know Liam Buckley because he played with Liam Buckley over here at Northwich last season. He has had a loan spell at Hyde United a couple of years ago, so he did play a little bit at step three, about a dozen appearances. I checked that this morning, but yeah, the bulk of his appearances have been at step four. But yeah, I think so. Ready to kind of slot into a team that's got ambitions to make the step up, and I think he'll embrace that.
Yeah, and you mentioned Liam Buckley as well, and he's certainly come on leaps and bounds. He's arguably rated as Leek's best signing from what they made over the summer by the looks of it.
I'm really pleased to hear that. I mean, he was absolutely a player that Northwich were gutted to lose. They unearthed him a little bit. He lives round the corner. You could throw a stone from his mum and dad's house to where the ground is in Barnton. So he's been living in Northwich, but hadn't played any of his football there. He'd been at Chester, and he spelt very briefly at Keffin Druids before again coming on trial to 1874 Northwich. Did really, really well. They signed him. There was a vacancy in their team because they'd lost Mike Corral to their neighbours Witton Albion, so they plugged him in straight away. Weren't sure how it was going to go, and he ended up being their player of the season. So it's great for me to hear that he's kind of kicking on again, playing at Leek, and has risen to that challenge, because he's another one who's relatively inexperienced in men's football. So good on him, and Green will take some comfort from that and thinking, well, I can hopefully do what Liam's done. Yeah,
absolutely. And speaking to Josh on Tuesday, the Leek manager, he mentioned that Wayne Goodison had told Fenton upon Fenton's departure from 74 Northwich that Leek was a good place for him to go develop. As you've mentioned, is this how Leek are seen by their peers in the Northern Premier League?
I think that is really a fair comment. I mean, we might come on to Wayne Goodison in a moment, but I have spoken to him about Fenton Green's move. I believe Fenton was arguably one of Northwich's best players when they were over at Leek the other week, and Leek won the game comfortably, but Fenton Green scored a consolation for Northwich that day. I think he was, to be fair, probably on their radar before that afternoon. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that kind of is part of Wayne Goodison's reputation is that he will give people good advice. Northwich, I think, have developed a reputation as a club that they won't stand in people's way if guys get an opportunity to progress. So another one of their star players from last season, Mackenzie O'Neill, stepped up to Bamber Bridge in the Premier Division, although he's not had a much chance to play for them yet because of injury. But that was another good example of course, they would have loved to have kept him. And a player that your listeners will know really well, Joe Woolley, returning to your neck of the woods to Kidsgrove after being, again, arguably their best player over the last couple of seasons. But again, Joe's conversations with Wayne, Kidsgrove are an ambitious team and want to challenge for promotion. So it's upsetting a little bit for Northwich, but I think they do take some pride in unearthing these players, developing them, improving them, giving them a platform, and then moving on. I think in kind of this ecosystem they find themselves in, they see that that's their place at the moment. They don't have the financial resources to go and kind of compete on wage levels, maybe with a Leek or with a Kidsgrove. So somebody moving on from them after doing well, they do take pride in that, even though of course they're disappointed to lose better players. But undoubtedly that's how they perceive Leek, and that's why when he sought advice off Wayne, or one of the people he sought advice off, that Fenton was kind of got that reassurance that this would be a good move for him.
Do you think quickly that 1874 Northwich would one day be in Leek's position where they're being recommended as from other clubs to go join them because it's a club on the up?
Yeah, I think they've got that reputation already, in so much as we've seen lads come on loan from Football League clubs to 1874 Northwich. They got a really good relationship with Salford City, good relationship with Chester, which is just down the road from where I'm sat. And I think those clubs can see that they get looked after playing for Northwich. They get well coached, or have been well coached when Wayne's been there. And so it's an environment in which they'll get minutes and they'll get exposure to men's football, and in a team that that tries to play the right way. So that's how they're seen a little bit at the moment. They would absolutely love to kind of get to a position where they're challenging to go up to step 3, but I don't think they'll be remotely offended for me to say publicly that survival at step 4 represents still success for them at the moment. They're very, very new still to this level. It's only their 3rd season in the Northern Premier League.
Oh, is it only their 3rd? It feels like they've been so established now. I've seen them quite a few times at this level. You just think they're one of the established clubs.
100%, and that's they've had 2 mid-table finishes now in the Northern Premier League West Division. Their aspiration would obviously to try and break into that top half, but like I said, they've had a challenging start to the season, so it does look like it's going to be another campaign where certainly avoiding being sucked into a relegation battle would be their next aim. If they can then aspire to kind of get into that top 10, top 12, they'd be made up with that, because that would be a record finish for the club. But I think, again, another mid-table finish, certainly after they're now going to go through a managerial change, would be a good outcome for them this season.
Yeah, got to talk about that managerial change. Completely threw me by surprise. The departure of Paul Bowyer and Wayne Goodison, and they were the longest serving managers in the Northern Premier League or clubs involved with it, because obviously they were in the Northwest Counties League. What was that like to get the news that they were leaving in such great managers, particularly Wayne? I've got a lot of time for Wayne.
Yeah, he's very well respected. It's been fascinating I texted him last night, actually. It's been fascinating to read the comments in response to the announcement, and there's lots of his peers in there, so fellow managers or fellow coaches, saying how much they respect what him and Paul Bowyer have achieved, how much they think of them as individuals. It's been really uplifting, I guess, to read that and see how well thought of they are, because I suppose we're all guilty of this in football. There's kind of this recency bias that, you know, they've had a challenging start, they've had a really challenging fortnight with 2 heavy defeats on the road, but then you see the club statement and it sets out everything that they've achieved since they took over in March 2017, and it's an extraordinary CV. Kind of good luck to the person who tries to follow that, because it's included cup final successes, promotions, and obviously they were 1 game away from playing at Wembley in the FA Vars final a few seasons back, and also they've kind of guided the club through the pandemic, which was not easy for anybody. So yeah, I think there's a real sadness. All good things come to an end, as they say. I don't think it was kind of in the script for them to kind of hand over at this point, but you know, as always, results dictate these things. They have had a tough few weeks. There wasn't any sign of an uptick in form, although I did say to you off air that the fixture list gets a little kinder in the next couple of weeks, and I think there's some supporters that would have liked to have seen how the team did in those before maybe making any sorts of decisions. But to be fair to the guys, it's their call. They said that they think it's the right moment to step down and give whoever comes next has got time to kind of assess things and make the changes that they feel are appropriate. And there's enough time in the season left for that not to have a detrimental impact. I mean, there's no kind of handbook on when the perfect timing is. We'll see. No. Time will tell if the timing of this one is good for the club. So let's see. But yeah, it's a shame. Certainly when you've worked with someone for a long time as well, and as a journalist, it's sad when that comes to an end. And it really is a long time, nearly 7 years. So they've had a really good run. They both feel that. And I get the sense from conversations with both of them in the past couple of days that they're at peace with their decision, and that's usually a sign that maybe then it does suit everybody. I don't think it is a mutual thing in so much as the club wanted them to go, but the club have listened carefully to their view and gone, okay, we hear you and we respect your decision.
Yeah. Where do you think 1874 Northwich will go next then, quickly, before we let you go? In terms of
the manager,
yeah.
I think lots of people have asked me that. I think it's going to be a coveted position, and the reason I say it's a coveted position is, yes, they don't have the biggest budget in the league, but they do have a reputation as a club that gives managers time. They're patient. The fan base is very supportive of the managers. They are a fan-owned, fan-run club, so the ethos of that is slightly different. But I think they do need an individual who kind of buys into that. And Paul and Wayne were brilliant ambassadors for the fan-owned, fan-run movement. So they're certainly going to be looking for someone like that. And let's see who comes forward. They're going to advertise the vacancy. They've not got a short list of people they've got in mind. So they're going to see who comes forward, and then they'll make what they're describing as a considered position. But knowing 74 as I do, that is exactly how they will approach it. And we'll see who they come up with. But yeah, it's a difficult act to follow.
So that's Andrew Simpson, a freelance journalist based over in Mid Cheshire, who covers 1874 Northwich, covers Northwich Victoria, and of course Witton Albion. And Witton Albion are one of the teams who are coming to the local area at the weekend. They play Newcastle Town away from home. Other games include Leek Town hosting Avro in the pitching in Northern Premier League West. Kidsgrove Athletic go to Widnes. Hanley Town host Clitheroe, and in the Isuzu FA Vars, I've never really mentioned it in this podcast, but Congleton Town are back in the FA Vars after their run to the semi-final last year. They welcome Loughborough students to the Cleric Stadium. So that's all to come on Saturday in the Saturday Sports Show. Proud as always to be in association with Leek Building Society, and you can be able to find us from 2 p.m. on 97.3 FM, 103.7 FM, DAB, on the app, and online at moorlandsradio.co.uk. You can also follow us on social media. We're really hitting the social medias We're on Twitter, or X as it's called these days, Moorlands Sports 1. We're on Facebook, Moorlands Radio Sport. Instagram, Moorlands Radio Sport. And YouTube, Moorlands Radio Sport. In fact, you can listen to this podcast on YouTube if you so desire, and you'll be able to watch many of our video interviews where we get a chance to record them over on YouTube and Facebook. But as always, thank you for your time, and hopefully speak to you on Saturday.
Moorlands Sport Extra, the podcast, brought to you by the Moorlands Radio Sports Team and in association with Leek Building Society, awarded the UK's Best Building Society 2023.